right, welcome back to Within the Rep. It's been a minute, but here we are. We're back today. I have my good friend Nathaniel on the podcast. So we're going to talk a little bit about, well, we don't really know. We're going to get into it here. So I'll let Nathaniel introduce himself. So go ahead, my man.
Yeah, appreciate you having me, man. It's been a while since we've chatted. I'm Nathaniel. I am a husband. I am a father of three little humans. I am a health and wellness coach for faith-driven fathers. That was really loud. And I'm also a real estate investor. I've been investing in real estate for 10 years now almost, and I've learned so much in my time as an entrepreneur in the real estate investing world, as a Marine, as a collegiate athlete, and that kind of all combining with fatherhood got me on this coaching path. So that's right, the really 60-second breakdown.
Okay, cool. Well, let's break it down from the start. So you mentioned being a collegiate athlete.
I ran track and played a little bit of basketball.
Okay.
And when I say played a little bit, I rode the bench.
So it wasn't much of a serious pursuit for you, more so a hobby.
Collegiate athletics was the only reason I stayed in school. So yes and no. I guess it was the desire at the time, but ultimately my poor grades and bad decisions led me into the Marine Corps, and that whole episode or that whole chapter got put to an end. I ended up actually, after I got out of the Marine Corps, went and ran track again in college. Did not do very well, but I enjoyed it from a different perspective. Yeah.
So it was more something just to kind of keep you grounded as you went through
Yeah.
school.
I like the competition. I've always been very competitive. I'm the person that hates losing more than I actually like winning. And there's just something about track and field. Basketball was my first love as far as sports go. Really, actually, basketball was my first love. That's end of statement. But there was something about the track and field, it's a team sport, but it's very individual.
Hmm.
And the community aspect of it, and just the vibes around big meets where, it's not just the school versus school, it's, a big conference meet. There was something about it, and so it drew me back in.
Kind of like it's a big community essentially, and big gatherings, and
Yeah,
there is that team aspect to it, but there's also the individual performance side to it as well, right?
exactly.
So, nice. Okay, so you mentioned the Marines too. What drove you to make that decision?
Let's just call it serendipity. I was in college at the time. I had just lost a job, wasn't really taking care of what I needed to be taken care of. We'll just say that. And I was going out and partying, and I came home one night, and the next morning my parents sat me down and were like, "Hey, you don't have a job right now. You're living at home." I was like 19, maybe. No, I was like 18. Like, you got to figure something out. And the next day the recruiter called. And I'm like, "I'll be in your office later this afternoon." And within like 2 months I was in the Marine Corps. So it was I hesitate to use the word evil, like, but the phrase necessary evil, like, I needed it. There was a lot of stuff that I learned from it and that I took from it, and I didn't have discipline, I didn't have focus, I didn't have drive, and the Marine Corps gave me a lot of that stuff. There was some stuff that it gave me that were negative too, which we could get into, but I don't want to get that deep right off the bat.
Yeah, well, yeah, I see. I find it very interesting because I live in Canada, and I mean, a lot of people I speak to in the States have been in the Marines, etc., right? And it seems like such an easy path to make for somebody who maybe doesn't have their path laid out or their decisions made, which is cool in a sense. I mean, it kind of gives, a young mind mentorship in a sense, and gives them direction, gives them values, right? But in Canada, we don't really have that, right? I don't have a lot of men that I know that, join the army or what have it, right? I mean, it's not a big thing here. So it's quite an interesting topic for me that there is that option and it's so commonly pursued.
Yeah, it for a lot of people like myself, there's a lot of value in it. the value in it becomes almost a negative for many when they get out. And I'll explain is when you're in the Marine Corps, you have 3 meals a day that are provided for you. You have a roof over your head. You have somebody that's telling you, and I say Marine Corps, it's probably the same for the other branches too, but I can't speak from personal experience on that. You have somebody telling you where to go, when to be there, what you're going to do when you're there until you rise in the ranks. And typically that takes a few years. And you've learned a lot by then. And when you get out, all of a sudden, you don't have those meals. You don't have a place you don't have, place over your head. You don't a roof over your head. You don't have somebody telling you where to go. And it can be overwhelming for many people, myself included. They get like in the Marine Corps, I think it was like a 2 or 3 week, hey, you're getting out of the Marine Corps. Here's the life skills you need. It was not enough. And you get out, you're just like overwhelmed, and they're like, here, go to the VA, the Veterans Association, the Veterans Affairs, to get paperwork done and things like that. And you're just like, what the heck? And so a lot of people end up, if they don't already have depression, they end up in a depressed state. They stop taking care of their health. They just end up overwhelmed. It's really unfortunate that all the good that can be done in the military can get undone really fast when you get out.
So do most people who join the military, do they go into service, or is it, how does that work?
What do you mean, go into service?
Like do they, like what are their roles? Like do they deploy out or anything? How does that work?
When I was in the Marine Corps, this is 2003 to 2007, I actually got out because they weren't going to let me redeploy. Because at the time, I think it was only a third of the Marine Corps had deployed to Iraq. And this was when Iraq and Afghanistan was kind of coming up. And so, short answer is no, most people actually don't deploy, at least in the Marine Corps. Most people are just staying at the States. And I was the type of person that I didn't train for all this to not go put it to use. And I was a tank mechanic. And when I went to Iraq, I was in charge of 4 tanks. I think I was 21 years old. I was in charge of like $20 million worth of equipment in Iraq. And I was a tank mechanic. I was also a tank loader, so I was thrust into a tank, into a position that I had never been in. I was supply chief, like maintenance chief, just a whole bunch of things. And at 21 years old, like I learned so much there. And it was 8 months of a whirlwind. And I would absolutely 100% go do it again, which is why I wanted to do it again. But they were like, no, we're trying to get more people to go to Iraq that haven't been. And so I ended up getting out. But no, I think the majority of people don't deploy. Like, of that, there's a large part. I don't know if you're familiar with the reserves. There's a large part of the military that are reserves that aren't there. It means they're not active duty. They don't go do this every single day. They come once a month, and they train a couple weeks a year, like for a longer period of a training. But they go 1 weekend a month.
Yeah, so I mean, everything happens really fast, a lot of responsibility, a lot on your plate. I mean, it's probably super exciting, super thrilling, especially for a
Yeah.
21-year-old. I mean, to have
Yeah.
to manage all that equipment, all that responsibility, to be crew chief, etc., and then for it to all just end abruptly after 8 months. That'd be pretty intense feeling. I wonder why they like to cycle new deployment and not redeploy.
Yeah, I couldn't speak to that. I don't know because what I would think is like you want to send the experience back, but at least from the Marine standpoint, like we want them to all be fighters. We want them to all have experience. So I guess I could see it from that perspective as well. But it was exciting. Like I did a lot of stuff that most people would just be like, I'd like I saw a lot of stuff that most people you shouldn't see, so there was that element of it too, which is part of what has pushed me to do what I'm doing now and helping so many men out is because we deal with things that we don't talk about. And a lot of the things that I've worked through are kind of like woo woo, like it's just stuff that guys don't do. For example, like journaling every day. I got like I think you're probably on board with it at this point, but like this thing goes everywhere with you. because it's a database, it's a brain dump, it's a tool. And when I first heard it, like, hey, you should be journaling every day, I'm 25 years old, like, nah, that's what girls do. Like that's what little high school girls do, and they have a little pink fluffy pen and their feet are up kicking around and they're talking about how cute Brad is and like, no, I'm not going to do that. But it's when you start doing it, you realize how powerful of a tool it is for your mind.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, what you made is a good point. I mean, it's almost like that genderism about it being like a diary or something, right? From a young
Yeah.
age, I think, a lot of young men could utilize it too. Just being able to get your thoughts out on paper. And I mean, not only that, I use my journal for, I mean, all my KPI tracking. I'm sure you do too. Writing down all my goals, all my achievables over the course of the day or the course of the week, because it's easy for us to get caught up in things and in the rat race, and we don't really see the progress we're making, and we can, kind of get distorted in our perception of reality and thinking, we're not achieving much. But when you look back through your journal of the past week and all the things you achieved on a day to day basis, and I mean, it really pays off. It really enlightens your mind and it brings back your spirit to keep you motivated, right? And not only that, but putting your thoughts on paper. Like you said, how many men actually do that? How many men actually, talk about their feelings, talk about their emotions? I mean, I think it's getting more common nowadays, the talk about it, the speak about it helps men open up, but I still think regardless, it's just who men are. They are the keepers, they are the leaders, they are the protectors of the family, right? So they feel that, they need to carry that burden. They shouldn't, you know,
Yeah. Yeah, it's
shed
that
their
like
armor
just
and
be a
show
man. Like,
show their weaknesses, right? So,
yeah. Man up, man up. I like what you said with the KPIs, tracking things over time. It's so easy to forget where things were a month ago. And if you're not looking backwards, you cannot see the growth. Like we're goal setters, right? We're always looking at the next goal. And then what happens when you achieve that goal? You go, okay, sweet. Like let's set the next one. And if you're always looking at the gap between where you're at and where you're trying to go rather than where you've come from, that gain, you can get in your head and it can be depressive. And
hmm
so being able to look back and see that stuff is just so powerful and it keeps you in a positive mindset. Like, man, 3 weeks ago I was only doing 3 push-ups. Now I can do 5 without falling down.
hmm
I wouldn't have thought that. I just go, man, I do 5 and I fall down. I'm not doing 10 yet. Yeah, but just 3 weeks ago you were doing 3.
hmm
So give yourself a pat on the back.
yeah, I mean, I wrote those exact things down in my journal this morning. Actually, I made a couple posts about it as well, about my journal entry, but essentially that time moves so fast now. I mean, we're in 2026, we're in the time of convenience. For the past decade, we've been riding trends, the new common fad, what to do next, but it's only speeding up, and people want quick results, people want things, now. Kind of unfortunate because the journey is really the most exciting part of the process, right? Like going through the journey, experiencing the highs, experiencing the lows, experiencing the wins, experiencing the losses. That's what it's all about. And
Yeah,
it even
that's the
ties
human
back to
experience.
something as simple as like people wanting their physical appearance to improve and wanting to, ride all these shortcuts and do it the fast way, which, inevitably is going to result in not a valuable product in the end, right? Because to create value, you need to put in the time, you need to put in the work, you need to put in the quality. Quality equates to value, right? And if you don't have a quality process, you don't have a quality journey, I don't think you're going to have a valuable product in the outcome, right? So, whether that's your physical appearance or your business, I mean, you can't expect everything just to be a success overnight. I mean, that's not how
Yeah,
life
you're
works.
preaching to me right now.
Well, if life, like, let's be real. I mean, that's the exciting part of life, right? I mean, like the wins and the losses. If we didn't have the losses, what would the wins be, right? So
Yeah, that's the yin and the yang aspect of things for sure. You gotta have the lows to realize the highs. Hopefully you don't have a huge gap in between them, have really, really, really low lows. But that's part of what paying attention to that gain helps mitigate. You don't have the big lows. I had really bad lows. I used to have really bad lows, and I wouldn't have highs. I just have like kind of not lows.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the same way, man. Like I grew up from like wouldn't say it was a terrific childhood, and like the way I kind of chased those highs was through, using substances and whatnot through my years growing up, and kind of use it as a crutch to get by, like to get through those lows, right? But I think that's a big thing is like that's why a journal pays off so much, right? Just being able to, focus on those little wins. I mean, they can be so little. I saw a reel on Instagram. I thought it was really cute, but it's quite true. And but he's like talking about stacking wins. He's like, "I got a green light on the way to the gym. That's a win, you know?" Just
Heck
like the
yeah.
most simple things.
Yeah.
But that thought pattern, is going to bring positivity to his day, and that positivity is going to bring more wins, more success, right? It's when you get in that negative thought pattern, there's a red light. Focusing on the reds, not the greens, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and even the red light you can reframe as, hey, I get a chance to take a break for a second. Like just being able to reframe those. And I have this mental clicker, I guess. You know the little clickers when you like are walking through a line and somebody's like they're like counting, is every time you have one of those, just think of the little clicker you're checking off. Another win. It's just a little mental trigger for me that goes, all right, I just checked off another one. The green light's great because it doesn't have to be something huge. It doesn't have to be that I hit a new PR in the gym or I finally hit my goal. Like, just I made my bed this morning, right? Like, I mean, even before that, I woke up. Can you hear the clicking?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, and it's true. I mean, you're literally firing dopamine in your brain each time you do that, right? So
Yeah. And instead of
you are
getting
going
it
to feel
from
good.
this, right? Like, let's figure out how we can give it to ourselves and rewire that, those neurons inside our brain that are giving us that. And it's not actually rewiring before anybody out there says, we're just actually changing the trigger now between I need to get on and scroll versus I can actually give it to myself by just being intentional about what I'm paying attention to throughout the day. And I say this stuff because that's been me. Like you just have to reframe it. And it's easier. It's a little bit easier for me now with kids because I can just you can't see and I'm not going to change. I'm not going to turn the camera, but like there's just a glass door right here. And so at any given point, I'm like, man, this day's not going the way I wanted it to. Look, the kid's playing with his toy. How awesome is that? Like, I'm so blessed. You know? I got a little diverted there, but yeah, I just started thinking about the kids.
No, for sure, absolutely. I mean, we can get like it is, right? We can get distracted in our day to day and, forget about those things that we cherish. That's why it's
Yeah.
so popular now to do gratitude journaling, right? Because it's easy to change your mindset when you focus down on things that you're grateful for, right? Just
Yeah.
changing your thought pattern, right? Because let's be real, everybody has lots that they're dealing with on a day to day, whether I think a lot of people are struggling financially, bills to pay, food on the table, maybe the tire on your car pops or something like that. Everybody's going through something. It's easy to get weighed down by everything going on, but you can shed all that weight off your back, just by flipping the switch in your brain and acknowledging what you're grateful for. And like you pulled up your phone, you pulled up a notepad. There's a big difference. Like putting notes in your phone, it's not the same. Like there is not that human connection. There's not that like transfer of energy going through from your brain into your hand, through the pen into the paper. Like it's just a more natural process, and I feel like you really feel that transfer of energy when you're putting those notes in your phone. I mean, I've done it. I've done gratitude journaling in my phone. It's just not the same. It's just not the same.
The like one thing that's popped up in my head here is that I would love to share with your audience is on the journaling side of things. I know a lot of us, or a lot of people out there, sit with their phone at night, right? And I'll pull it out again. It's on silent. And a lot of people fall asleep with their phone, like literally just sitting there scrolling in their. I want to challenge anybody that's listening to put it away at least 30 minutes before go to bed. Like put it on airplane mode. If you use it for an alarm, set your alarm, go set it down somewhere far enough away from your bed where you can hear it and it'll wake you up, but you have to get up out of your bed and it's not sitting right next to your head when you're sleeping. And then for the last little bit, writing down 3 wins from the day is so powerful because it doesn't matter how bad the day has gone. You can think of 3 things that went well. You can think of 3 things that you're grateful for. If it's not just the breath in my lungs, the sight in my eyes, the smell in my like, there, that's it. It's really that easy. And then just brain dump. I know I do. And I know a lot of people, a lot of other people do. We have a tendency to go lay in that bed and we cannot fall asleep because we have these thoughts that are just circling. Like you mentioned, how am I going to pay for the tire that just popped? Like, what am I going to do with this thing that's stressing me out? Write it all down. And it doesn't have to be this is how I'm feeling about this. Like, just put the thoughts on the page because there's something about writing them on the page that, like, it's now the weight is gone. I don't have to think about it anymore because it's on the page. And when I get up in the morning, I can go back to the page and I can start thinking about those. It's so freeing. But also, when you do have a problem that you're trying to solve, maybe something a little bit more complex than the tire popping, but so many times you find yourself, I write something on the page, man, I'm trying to solve this problem. I can't figure out how to get from A to Z. You wake up in the morning with just this because you freed your mind up. I don't know how it works, don't ask me, but you freed your mind up to just go to work on the subconscious level and you wake up in the morning with these epiphanies. And so if anybody out there caught that little nugget.
Yeah, and I'm cleaning the slate for sure. I mean,
Clean the slate. It's yeah, that's it. That's beautiful.
yeah, I
Beautiful.
have some thought process around like depression and stuff because I've had tough times myself, and I would always have these thoughts like, it really isn't that bad because let's be real, there is somebody.
Mm.
It doesn't really matter the situation. There's always somebody out there that's probably worse off than you that's making it work, right? So that always kept me going. Just a little thought in the back of my head.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if that's the healthiest way to go about it. But I would find myself not even remembering what triggered the episode. Like 6 hours later, you're depressed and you're sitting on the couch and you're just like, wait, what am I upset about? I don't even know what to be upset about. And there's something somebody told me a little while back is like, just take the next best action, whatever the next best course of action is. And when you're in a depressed state, like, okay, well, what's something that is going to make me not depressed? What can I just get up and go do right now? Is it going for a run? Is it playing a video game? Like, what's something that's going to just take your mind off of that little loop that you're in and go do it? And just and I know you're using the, what is it, idea, execution, velocity. It's kind of the same. It's a little bit of the same concept as like, you realize become consciously aware of like, hey, I'm in a funk right now. I'm in this depressed loop. Now just snap, like, I don't want to make it simpler than it's, but like just snap out of it almost. Hey, how do I get out of this? Okay, what's the next best thing that I can do? For me, it was like a lot of the times going and playing basketball or going for a run. Just get out and go do something physical. And that will almost always get me out of it.
Hmm.
But
Yeah,
I'm
for
also
sure.
not a psychiatrist. So
I
yeah.
understand. I mean, my approach was just like a simple mindset of like, you don't have it that bad. And I
Yeah.
guess I'd always treated it, I understand there's clinical levels of depression and the mind can get to a state where synapses aren't actually firing and it can actually be very hard to get motivated and moving. That's why people get severely depressed, have hard times getting out of bed. But like you said, you like we're always going to have endless talk in our minds. So journaling is a great way to, free that talk And as well, the past is the past. Like we need to be living in the present. And the present is the only thing that matters. And the present will be gone in a second. And the future is next. The past is gone. We cannot change the past. I mean, it is what it is. Relishing in the past, regretting past decisions,
It's keeping you from,
even just getting over
yeah,
losses and things like that, right? Like
yeah.
you just need to, like in my mindset, I just need to get up and go. Like you said, do something, take action. Because the longer you like sit in the mud, the harder it's gonna be to get out. Because you're gonna sit there, you're gonna sit in the mud, you're gonna sit in it, you're gonna get even muddier, and it's gonna be harder to climb out of it. Simply, right? Like just take action. Just get off your ass and get moving forward. I know, woe is me, but I know you want somebody to like look you in the mirror and tell you like you're a little butterfly and everything's okay, but like let's be real, the only one coming to save you is you. So like take
I
some
think
initiative, get out in the
there's a
sun,
lot of that.
go for a walk, right? Like it is hard to say, unfortunately, but you do have to take initiative, right? There's no one who's going to pick you up and do it for you, right? You can reach out to your friends, you can make calls, and please do talk to people, but you need to show that initiative to yourself. You need to be there for yourself. The only person who's going to show up for you is you at the end of the day. So be that person, be there for yourself. When you're feeling down in the mud, get up out of it. Go for a walk, go get some sunlight, go drink a water, go start reading a book, pursue a new activity. Just change that mindset. Get into a different place, right?
And again, I think like we don't want to diminish the, like you said, the clinical, the depressed states, right? But for so many of us, it is simple enough to just go take the next step. And the, we get stuck in how hard something is going to be, and that keeps us from going and doing it instead of just going and doing it and then coming to realize, oh, it wasn't actually that difficult to begin with. The pain wasn't that great. And from the fitness space, just take running a 5K as an example. People go look at, I'm not a runner. I've never run a 5K. How am I ever supposed to do that? And that keeps them from taking the next best step to going and running the 5K. Well, you don't start with running a 5K if you've never ran a 5K before, or if you've never run before. You start with going and walking a quarter of a mile. And that alone makes you realize like, oh shoot, I can go walk a quarter of a mile. And then you go out and you walk a quarter mile, and all of a sudden you've walked a mile. And then what's the next step you do? Maybe I run a quarter of a mile then. Maybe I jog a quarter of a mile, and then I walk the next 3 quarters. And all of a sudden, I'm running a 5K. Maybe it's not all of a sudden, but you catch you I think you understand
Hmm.
more than most people. And it's that thought that like I can't do that, I'll never be able to do that, that are keeping us from taking any sort of action at all. And it's really unfortunate. Is it a little bit of the component of what we were talking about a little bit ago with the like instant gratification. I want to just go run the 5K. Well, you can't do that yet. You can probably go walk 5K, but and there's a lot of that with I don't want to say any names of things just to make sure the podcast doesn't get flagged or something, but with prescriptions and things these days, it's like it's instant gratification. We can have health without having to do anything. I don't know if that's entirely true,
Yeah,
but I don't
well,
know.
just
Yeah,
there's no money in longevity, so that
yeah,
covers that space, right?
yeah. There's a that's funny. That's a Chris Rock. There's an old Chris Rock joke line. He says like the money's not in the cure, the money's in the comeback. It really is. It's in the comeback, and that's what we want to do. We don't want to actually help people take autonomy of their own health. We want them to be reliant on the system,
Hmm.
and that's what has moved me to go to where I'm at, and helping. I like helping dads because what I see is like I help one man out, and he's impacted his wife, hopefully, and he's also impacting his children, hopefully. And then those kids go and they impact, and so it becomes a generational thing. And I I don't want to work with somebody forever. I want to give you the tools to be able to get off medication, to be able to stop being anxious and depressed all the time, to go and reach the goals and reach new heights that you want to go reach. And we do that through digging down deep. And instead of going, here's a pill, we go, well, what's actually causing the issue to begin with? And I come from like I mentioned, a tank mechanic world is like, a fuse pops. You don't just go replace the fuse because it's just going to pop again because you didn't actually fix what the heck popped the fuse to begin with. It's like if you're having gut issues, you don't just stop drinking milk. Well, maybe you do for the time being, but that's not. I like milk. What's going on down underneath? I'm not just going to replace the fuse. Let's figure out what's popping the fuse to begin with. Whew, that got. I went on that one, Farren. Reel me back in.
No, yeah, I think what you're saying is, yeah, just like being productive with progressions. I would say this, it's kind of a recurring statement that I've brought up, but like, I look at a good analogy to look at is if you have like 10 tabs open on your desktop and starting 1 to 10, the first one's the most challenging, and you proceed to skip to the next one down the list, and you get to the end of the list eventually because those are the easiest tasks to knock off, right? But inevitably, you will have to come back to those challenging tasks to begin with. You already spent time there, you already opened it up, you already went through it, you already pondered it, you already decided this isn't the time. I'm going to move to the next easiest task, which I don't really believe in. I think you should knock off that hardest task to begin with. I think you should prove to yourself that you can do it. And then every task after that is going to be easier, you know?
You're a you're not for the like stacking small wins to lead up to the big win. You just like
Well,
go.
I think what happens like when we're talking about accountability and showing up for ourselves, like, yeah, I think there should be adaptive steps to progressions, like if you're chasing a goal, running a marathon, trying to get a
Mm,
PR on a bench press, things like that. But when it comes to your day-to-day life and your execution, I think more often than not people are putting aside things that are challenging because they'd rather take the task that's easier when inevitably they are going to have to come back to those challenging items, like these things have to be knocked off the task list. So just why not deal with them now? Show the
yeah.
accountability, show up, do it, prove to yourself that you can do it, and every task after that becomes easier. And I think a lot of the times too, people on pursuit of their goals, we can have support from our colleagues, acquaintances, friends, and family, but sometimes we might not. And sometimes they might shed doubt in our mind that what we can achieve isn't possible, right? So
Yeah, that's interesting because there
that's like
is an
that's
element
why I
of
say
like,
you have to be there for yourself. You have to knock off those hard tasks. You have to prove to yourself that you can do that because we do have people we can reach out to. Yeah, I mean, every man says it. Talk to me if you need to talk, right? We're there for each other. But at the end of the day, you got to be there for yourself. I think that's really the biggest thing, right? Because sometimes when we talk to our friends and family, say we have a big goal running a marathon. Are you sure you can do that? That's already like casting a doubt in our mind. Because now we're
yeah,
gonna go drive home. Man, my best friend just asked me, Am I sure I can do that? Like, am I sure I can do that? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if I'm sure, Like, it's the same for business. Like, you want to open a successful business and then you talk to your friends, well, what if it doesn't work out? Well, are you sure?
yeah,
It's like all those things are negative energy in your mind. Like,
yeah.
you know
Planting
what I
little
mean? They're
seeds.
tarnishing your beliefs. They're tarnishing your dream. They're tarnishing your goal because those
Yeah,
thoughts are going to come up now in your mind subconsciously. You know what I'm saying?
this is a tough. This is so tough for me because there are there are two sides to this. The one is as you because I totally agree with you. A lot of people are myself included is like, man, this would move the needle, but it's the hardest thing to do. And I can knock off all these other little things and it gives me a little bit of momentum. There's an element of checking off, things on my to-do list that like it gives you that little dopamine, it makes you feel good, like, oh, I'm building momentum towards the bigger win, but like those aren't really moving the needle a whole lot. And then one thing you mentioned there is like when we say you use the marathon example, like, hey, I want to go run a marathon. Are you sure? Like, you've never run a 5K before. Like planting a little seed of doubt. I heard, and I'll probably butcher it, but somebody a while back is like, when you have big plans, like keep them to yourself and just go work at them until you're able to accomplish them, and then everybody comes along for the ride. Is that is that negating the accountability aspect of the people that are there to support you and help you grow, like saying, hey, I'm going to go run this 5K. Oh, now that I've made it public, I, I have other people that are going to hold me accountable. Hey, you said you were going to run that. Oh, you said we said marathon. I'm going to go run that marathon. How are things going to you? Have you been, have you run 46 miles this week like you said you were going to, so you could run that marathon? And so
Mm.
like, man, I'm torn on this.
Yeah. See, this is actually a kind of a new enlightening like way of thinking for me because someone sent me a video recently kind of going over this and just speaking about the ego and shedding ego. And ego is not always the ego of I'm the best. Sometimes it's the ego of, I don't know if I'm good enough.
Mm,
And sometimes we have that ego, from maybe we just gathered it along our life journey, from things we heard, from things we witnessed, right? And this person actually shared a video with me, and it was actually a religious video about God and a few of the stories in the Bible. But it was just about sharing and sharing your thoughts and sharing your wins. And don't get me wrong, I think it is good to do that, but I think you need to be careful who you do that with. Because, like, for an example, a big win for yourself could be very positive to you, very enlightening, very motivating, amplifies your productivity. You're just ready to go. And then you tell somebody about this win and they don't have the same feeling and it kind of burns that energy down, right?
yeah.
Like the flame is not so high anymore, right? So I'll send that video to you. It's about a 10-minute video and it goes
Okay.
through I think the five stories that explain it in the Bible, but it definitely stood out to me because it's something I do. Like I'm a very very forthcoming person. I'll tell people honestly everything. I don't really gatekeep. I just tell it how it is. If someone wants to know, I'll happily give them the information, whatever that may be, but I don't think that's always productive.
No.
I think it can bite you in the ass sometimes, right? Even if you are trying to be helpful, I think you can like I think you're burning your candle at both ends of the wick and I think you will lose that energy.
Yeah, there's the example you gave where like and unfortunately it happens a lot with it's our family and it's our closest friends that you're super excited and to them it's not that big of an accomplishment or it's something that they don't see in you that you can actually handle and now you've kind of you lost momentum and I'm like man it's so much of that is can we carry that going forward and I love this thought is like we have prescriptions and I don't know if you wear glasses prescription glasses I don't wear prescriptions but like God gave us a set of glasses with our goals and our dreams and our desires and when you take your if I take my prescription glasses off and I put them on your face it's going to be blurry to you because the prescription that he gave me is not the same prescription that he gave you. And so there's an element in that as like, hey, we shouldn't be sharing everything with everybody because they're not going to be able to see it clearly. It doesn't jive with them. And that I've gotten more into my faith, I'm realizing a lot more of that as like and we've said nobody's coming to save you. I think that there's one, but that's not what we're talking about here. Oh,
Yeah, I
that
understand that. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
I'm kind of like transitioning into that side of things. I would like to, step into that more. To be quite honest, I've been so busy, I really haven't had the time for it, but which is, I don't know if that's probably not a productive thing to say, but
That's another topic, yeah.
yeah. So, anyways, I do need to find that time though because I am, we've talked about a few things, but one of the things I harp on with the people I work with is, finding balance. And I don't, like, I'm a bodybuilder myself, so I kind of know the extreme side of things, like very strict fat loss diet, a very strict, like, push up phase, etc. So I like to have balance. Most people I work with aren't bodybuilders, most people are lifestyle, like to create something that's sustainable and that they can enjoy. So, I'm like, make sure you're not overworking yourself, make sure you find that balance where you can take some time for you as well, right? And that's something I haven't been doing lately is just, I've just been working so much. I've been kind of putting myself on the back burner. Even my training and everything's kind of taken a step back, which is something I want to realign over the next coming weeks because like it's not sustainable.
Yeah.
You need to have some time for yourself. You need to have time to, like we talked about, get your thoughts on paper, have a spiritual practice, whatever that is to you, whether that's faith based or maybe just meditation, breath work, things like that. So that's something I definitely need to fall back in. But that's something we can chat a little bit about if you want to get into it.
Yeah.
Were you
It's what
always religious throughout your life, or did you move into
no,
that
I
at a
like
later
and
age?
I would love to like I know that you've gone through a really pretty I mean somewhat recent relative, right? Change and like we have seasons that we go through. And I will touch on that with the seasons topic is that sometimes you're in a season of like I put your nose down and get this business going off the off the what the heck is the word I'm looking for? Just get it going, whatever. And I think
Yeah.
that there's an element of you having the bodybuilding background and the like the extremes of surplus and cutting where you're very well equipped to be able to coach people through that because like you're saying most people aren't going to like most people don't want to go have a 3,000 calorie change within a couple months that like that bodybuilding is going to require of you. And I don't know specifically because I'm not a bodybuilder, but I think that's probably fairly accurate. Like, hey, are you doing okay? Like, are you getting out and getting walks in nature and making sure that your nervous system is being regulated the way it's supposed to be? Because this isn't an extreme thing. We're not trying to get down to 6% body fat with you. We're just trying to get your health under control. And I had a 20-year season where I was not focused on my faith at all. And it's one of, I shouldn't say it's a regret. It was a regret when I reinvigorated my walk with Christ. And I had a moment where I was actually coming home from the gym, I think. I was coming home from playing basketball maybe one morning. And I was singing a song that was played in church when I was in boot camp. And it was like the last little seed that he had planted before I went dark, so to speak. And all these emotions started rushing up. And this was just maybe 6 months ago, 9 months ago, somewhere fairly recent. And I like tears were coming down and I just got this like, man, I wasted 20 years of my life. Like, think of all the good that we could have done together. And almost immediately, I heard him be like, "Dude, slow your roll." Like, I needed you to go through all of that to be able to get to where you're at now. And he started giving me little things like along the way. Hey, you went to boot camp, like, you did that in boot camp. You went, like, I got you through Iraq. Think of all the times that things could have gone bad in Iraq, but I was there. And then a job loss that turned into me going back to college, ultimately meeting my wife, having kids, real estate, all these things. Like, okay, I see where you're headed, and I have no idea where we're going, but I'm just trusting. And here we come. I'm going to bring it back right now. What I found is if I'm not prioritizing my faith, my family, my finances, and my fitness, and the last two are kind of together. Faith and family are in that order. And fitness and finances, they're both pretty darn equally important. Like, I got to pay the bills, but I also have to be around long enough to keep paying the bills. If I'm not prioritizing those, I'm not working at my best. And just for me is 30 minutes in the morning, I'm giving thanks, meditating, reading the Bible, And then my wife and I do it at night too. I journal, and we do typically 20 to 30 minutes of reading the Bible together, going through a daily, it's called Daily Bread. It's a little book. But like outside of those windows, it's family and finances. Like I'm working and I'm spending the not work time with my family, really. And so like those are the priorities. And when people come to me and they're going, I don't have time for this, I like, well, let's find out. Let's see what you're actually doing, and do a time audit, and actually audit your time, and tell yourself really, like, what are you actually doing in a given day? And a lot of the times you're like, well, hey, look, I saw that you spent an hour and a half on Netflix today. And that's not saying that that's bad, but is that more important to you than what you said you don't have time for? And if it's not, keep doing the hour and a half of Netflix. But we're just opening the opportunity for you to take stock in what you truly value. But that
Yeah.
was somewhat helpful.
No, it's helpful. I agree. For me, like I need more guidance in my approach, so I kind of need to go to like the services and stuff.
Mm,
But when I'm more confident, I think that's something I would absolutely be able to find time for. If you can't find 20 minutes in the day to set aside, I think you can. You just need to reassess, like you said.
yeah. If I like, I know we're coming here to the end. I would I would love to challenge you to. Do you have a Bible that you could open up and read? Okay. Go get a Bible, whichever
Yeah.
version you like. So there's like the two kind of there's the NIV, New International Version, that's like thought for thought. So it takes the scriptures that were written and it kind of like translates them into the easiest to digest thought. And then there's the King James Version, which is more word for word. It like tries to keep it as close to the original text as possible. I kind of like my church that I go to, the King James Version. Like Southern Baptist, we use King James Version. It's more difficult to read, and
Hmm.
sometimes you have to really sit with something and go like, "What the heck is it saying?" Which can be a good thing. I like the NIV a little bit more just for daily reading. I would challenge you to just like read a proverb a day. There's 31 of them, and so if you read one every day, you'll read through Proverbs about 12 times in a year. There's so much wisdom just in that one book that you can take and you can apply to your health, your finances, your business, like just being a man. That if you just spent the $20 on a Bible and the 15 minutes a day reading that, I think you would get a lot of value out of it. And I'm not just speaking to you, I'm like anybody. Like there's so much value in Proverbs. And I heard a while, it's if you do, there's 150 Psalms. And so if you read 5 Psalms a day and you read one proverb a day, you'll read through the whole thing in 12. Some of the Psalms can get a little bit longer. So like if you're really thinking from a time perspective, you can read a proverb in less than 10 minutes. You're buying one right now, aren't you?
I can get one. Yeah, I'm actually just seeing if I can find one thing. If I just want to show, here it is.
Was that an ad?
Yeah, I'll show you this video before you go. It's like 6, 7 minutes long.
Okay.
Someone shared this with me, so I'll share it with all my listeners as well. I'm sure you'd like to hear it. Let's see if I can get this correct.
You can share screen. Okay, dope. Of these.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm not gonna talk.
After you share a big dream or a sudden blessing, things suddenly get harder. You feel a burst of inspiration. You tell someone you trust, and almost immediately, the atmosphere changes. Doubt creeps in, obstacles multiply, and that fire you felt in your spirit starts to flicker. We're taught to be open and to love everyone, but there is a profound difference between being loving and being an open book. There are sacred parts of your journey that were never meant for public consumption. In fact, some truths are so delicate that the moment you speak them, you unintentionally invite a level of spiritual opposition you weren't prepared to handle. It isn't about being secretive. It's about stewardship. It's about understanding that your words carry weight, and not every ear is assigned to hear what God is whispering to your heart. The first thing you must learn to protect is your next move. When a new vision begins to take shape, your first instinct is often to announce it. You want the validation, the excitement, or maybe just someone to tell you that you're on the right track. But the Bible gives us a quiet warning. Proverbs 29:11, which says, "A fool vents all his feelings, but a wise man holds them back." This isn't just about controlling your temper. It's about controlling your energy. When you announce your plans before they are birthed, you give people the opportunity to project their own fears and limitations onto your calling. Think about Joseph. He had a magnificent dream, and he did what most of us do. He told his family. Genesis 37 tells us his brothers hated him all the more because of it. His vision exposed their stagnation. Sometimes God hides your plans not to punish you, but to protect you from the opinions of people who aren't equipped to carry the weight of your future. Move quietly and let your results do the preaching. The second thing to keep sacred is the specific revelation God speaks to you in secret. There is an intimacy between you and the Father that is meant to stay private. We live in a culture that demands we broadcast every thought, but some things are meant for your altar, not your audience. God speaks a deep conviction or a specific promise to your soul. It is holy ground. If you spend it too quickly in conversation, it can lose its purity. Think of Mary, the mother of Jesus. After receiving the most world-changing news in history, she didn't run to the village square to prove her worthiness. 2:19 tells us that Mary kept all of these things and pondered them in her heart. She understood that some divine instructions are like a holy fire. If you expose them to the wrong atmosphere too soon, they'll be extinguished by skepticism. Not everyone is spiritually mature enough to handle your secret word from God. Guard those whispers until they are strong enough to withstand the world's noise. Third, you must never feel the need to broadcast your good deeds or your sacrifices. In a world obsessed with recognition, there is a quiet power in the unseen. It's tempting to want people to know how much we've given or how hard we're working for the kingdom. We want to be seen as good. But Matthew 6:3 offers a radical perspective. But when you give to the needy, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. When we turn our obedience into a performance, we trade a heavenly reward for a momentary round of applause. There is a deep, soul-level peace that comes from knowing you did the right thing when no one was looking. Your private fasts and the ways you've helped others without seeking a thank you echo loudly in heaven. As Jesus promised in Matthew 6:4, your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you openly. Trust that his recognition is more than enough. The fourth area to guard carefully is your weakness while you are still in the process of healing. There is a massive difference between a testimony and a wound. A testimony is a story of how God healed you. A wound is something that is still bleeding. While you are in the middle of a struggle, you must be incredibly careful about who you allow to see the raw edges of your pain. Not everyone who listens is a healer. Some are just collectors of information. Proverbs 4:23 instructs us to guard your heart above all else, for it determines the course of your life. Sharing your struggle before it has turned into a victory can give the enemy ammunition to use against you. It can invite voices of pity or judgment that hinder your recovery. Even Jesus had inner circles for a reason. It's okay to stay quiet while you're being restored. Wait until the wound becomes a scar, a sign of strength, before you share it as a witness to others. Finally, the fifth thing you must learn to protect is the full extent of your blessings. It sounds strange to say you shouldn't talk about your favor, but there is spiritual wisdom in discernment. Not everyone who smiles at your progress is happy about your pace. When the wise men found the baby Jesus, an angel warned them in a dream not to tell Herod where he was. Herod didn't want to worship the blessing. He wanted to destroy it. Sometimes exposing your favor too early turns your blessing into a target for jealousy. This isn't about being paranoid. It's about being a wise steward of what God has entrusted to you. Your peace is a form of protection. When God opens a door, You don't always have to post the key. Let the fruit of your life be the evidence. True favor doesn't need an announcement. It eventually becomes impossible to hide anyway. Everything God asks you to guard is a sacred assignment. Your dreams, your healing, and your private conversations with the Spirit are all treasures. When you learn to protect what is holy, you aren't being secretive. You are being faithful. The enemy cannot attack a plan he doesn't know about, and people cannot curse a blessing they cannot see. So walk softly and pray deeply. Before you share that next breakthrough, ask yourself, is this for people's ears, or is this for God's glory? If you feel that nudge to keep it between you and the Father, honor it. There is a beautiful strength in the things only you and God know. If this message spoke to you today, write, I will guard it, in the comments as a seal of that.
Yeah, that I watched that about 2 weeks ago, and it like extremely shifted my thoughts and
Yeah.
really reside with
Could you
me.
send that to me, please?
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack in that. A cool thing about the Bible and Proverbs specifically, like you don't even have to believe in God to get value out of it. Like that video was specific to the Bible, but man, there's just so much value in that, whatever that was, 7 minutes, 6 minutes. Like,
Well, even apart from like being a Bible focused, religious, God, etc., what stands out to me is the stories. Like I do like the stories. They're old
yeah,
stories, and as we talk about, stories is the oldest form of human communication. That's what we cherish deepest, and that's where we get our learning from. Like those are all small little stories, but with teachings through each story. So I love it. I mean, that little 6 minute video completely changed my perspective on how I approach
yeah,
things. And
yeah. It does
honestly,
shift mine.
since watching that video and changing my intentions and my thoughts, like things have just like continuously improving.
Nice. I love that. And it doesn't necessarily mean it's gonna always be that way,
No, for
right?
sure.
We're gonna have ups and downs, but like just sticking with it and sticking with the faith that the plan is perfect and I have no idea what the timeline is. I just got to trust that I'm moving in the right direction and the thing's going to happen, like it's going to happen when it's meant to happen.
Hmm.
And as you that video was finishing, I'm thinking, man, every time I have a conversation, I'm trying to give value, but I'm also like, what am I here to learn? And boy, oh boy. Okay, I got to rewatch that video for sure and take notes because there was a lot in that. And I think it was the very first point is the closer you get to where you're trying to go or where you're supposed to be going, the more you get pulled by the opposition. And that is doubt and lies and temptations and other opportunities that are going to steer you away from where you're supposed to be headed. Yeah, I appreciate you. Thank you for sharing that.
For sure. No worries. Well, I appreciate you. I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day to come on the pod with me. So, absolute pleasure, my man. We'll have to do it again sometime in the near future, but I hope you have yourself an amazing day. And
You too, brother.
I'll link Nathaniel's socials when I post the pod. So, if anybody's looking for him, you can find him there. But this will be posted on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, so it'll be across the board if you're not watching it live now. So appreciate everyone coming through, and we'll see you soon. Cool, man.